Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Lethal Sales. We're so happy you're here tonight. And we're going to be talking about the high cost of cars and how a lot of people, like me, can't afford new cars. So, what can dealers do about that to help people like me? Get it, Peter?
Me? Oh, geez. I'm not the guy that's in dealerships every day, but if that's what you want, we'll refer back to me. Um,
Mm.
so I believe the number right now is $49,000 is the average price of a car at a car dealership. The average payment is just shy of $950 a month. About 3 years ago, 4 years ago, that was a mortgage payment for most people. Now, now that is a car payment, and no one, no one, I don't care who you are, is getting away from what the costs are, and it's challenging. Now, the very first thing in when we have interest rates and we have high costs, the very first thing is most dealers, and Larry will attest to this, will go out and they'll extend the term. They'll take it from 60 months to 72 months to 84 months to 96 months. And now they're going as far as 120.
Which is insane.
It's as a dealer, you're killing yourself. As an individual, you're paying probably about three times the price of the car when you amortize it all out that distance. You're just setting yourself up for failure, financial distress. Now, the next thing, and Russell can attest to this.
Yes.
When thank you, Russell. I'm glad you agree with me.
The
Uh,
guy in the chair.
so the issue with what they call defection, when a person is at a dealership, they buy the car. 70% of those people will defect out of that dealership and go to another dealership before the first service. When the warranty, the initial warranty, meaning the full coverage warranty, which is anywhere from 3 to 4 years on all manufacturers, another 70% will defect. That means you, after the termination date of the first section of the warranty, the full coverage, you have approximately 9% of your customers. How do you keep a business running with that kind of loss of customers? That's the first thing. So, in looking at that, and I look at various different financial opportunities, and one is leasing because that's the number one thing in Canada. The US doesn't do it. The national average for the US is 24.8% for leasing. That is absolutely unheard of. If when at the height of COVID, Canadian dealers were crying, screaming, the world is going to end because we dropped below 60% penetration across the country. So we're almost three times the penetration at the worst of times as the US. Leasing is the only way for new car dealers to retain clients. The only way. Now, one of the great things with leasing right now, and unfortunately Tony T is not on the call today,
He'll
is
be here.
EVs. Right now, you can lease an EV in the States cheaper than you can go to McDonald's for dinner.
That's
The
pretty cheap, man.
That's
Yeah,
not exaggerating.
yeah. So the Nissan Leaf in Tennessee on a 24-month lease with no money down because of all the tax credits was $19 a month for a brand new car.
That's crazy.
For the Volkswagen ID4, which is about a $55,000 car, I believe, they were leasing them out with no money down for 129 in the Northeast. 129 a month for a 24-month lease. That's
How long ago was that?
that. Pardon?
How long ago was that?
That was last month.
Okay.
Last month. The what I call C3PO or whatever ugly cousin that the Toyota one vehicle that Tony drives. Not that it's an ugly car or a bad car. It's just got a stupid name. Um, the BXZ35, whatever it is. They had a $21,000 rebate on that car, allowing that car to be leased at, depending on your mileage and your credit conditions, anywhere from $90 to $149 a month at worst case scenario. No money down. So what does that do? That turns around and allows you as an individual to drive a car under warranty for 2 to 3 years and bring it back with virtually zero maintenance and get into a new car. What does that allow for the dealership? Dealership gets to make a markup on the first one and will make 3 turns to the average financial turn. On those 3 turns, sure, the F&I office is not going to make the major $2,500–3,000 incomes that they make on finance, but they're going to make $1,000 or $2,000 on it. They're going to make 2/3 of it. So if you look at that, but they're going to change, not only they're going to change the new car 3 times in the time period of a financial transaction. So that's 3 times the F&I money. Then they get 3 times the F&I money on the used car, which would be on a finance, which they would have never gotten before. So their F&I profit over a 9 year or 6 to 9 year span actually is about 3.5 times. But because they want the initial, it's the grab and go, it's the instantaneous response that they want for gratification. They push finance because they're making the most money, and that's all because you let the F&I office run your dealerships, and that unfortunately is a destined to disaster, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So how do we change that?
Uh,
Let's.
I want to talk about what Jeff just put in the chat, that link.
What did Jeff put in the chat?
It's the 10-year snapshot of interest rates.
Oh. Okay, talk about
And
it,
then-
Jeff.
And then I also posted after that to bolster what you just said, Peter.
Mm-hmm.
24.2% of trade-ins, well, you guys can read it.
Mm.
Negative equity with an average upside down balance of 64.58.
Yep. And that's because
Well,
we all got greedy.
There's a couple of payments.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to go 72 to make up for that $6,400, right?
Oh no, it's
Keep your payment.
well, it's not just that. It's how much are the banks going to perpetuate allowances into over allowing on the vehicles? So the banks are turning around and saying, okay, we'll do 110 on it. Now we're doing 120. I remember being in Michigan 2 years ago, and they were doing 140% on the finance. So they were, if you're financing a $20,000 vehicle, they'd finance $28,000 on that vehicle. So they bury $8,000 on a $20,000 car. What's the interest rate on a $20,000 car? It sure isn't 2.9.
Yeah, right.
What are you doing to someone? How do you do that with any heart in your body?
Every day, all day long, all over the country, it's happening.
Exactly. Now, I just put, just for you guys that weren't at NADA, CDK gave out a book that was pretty amazing. And it's called 2025 Insights. And it's all the stats from 2025 on everything you can ever think of. It's half an inch thick, and it's pretty amazing. But that's the link to it digitally, so you can get all the stats. But these are the concerns. Like price was number 7 on the scale of importance 5 years ago in purchasing a car. Now it's number 1. And how did it get there? Because we got it there, and there's no fault in itself except for us because we turned around and did it.
Peter, I think everybody will agree that one of the biggest failings of car salespeople and sometimes car dealerships is being short-sighted, is not looking past the initial deal to try to make more deals with that customer, to not try to make more deals with referrals, to try to keep them in service. You know, we talk about it all the time. How can any dealer in good conscience, how can any dealer in good conscience insist on demo rides, but not insist on service walks? And look, the country did go through some gyrations. A lot of dealers got very greedy, which I'm not blaming them or beating them up, but you know, things do have consequences. And it's not like when you're 5 years old and you break a lamp and you close your eyes so nobody can see it. You know, I kind of agree with you that the only way this is going to start to work itself out is with leases, because this way, even if your payment is high, if some of the equity or all the inequity can be buried, at least in 3 years, you're out clean. You know,
Yeah.
if you pay $950 a month and it's too high, but in 3 years you're clean, and by then hopefully these interest rates have come down and the markets have adjusted, you're good. But imagine the nightmare of paying $900 or $800 for 3 years, and all you've done is pay interest, and you haven't put down the principal a bit, and now you're stuck. So I think it's going to be a matter of I love to say we're going to wave a magic wand, but it's not going to happen. We're buried too deep in these cars. And the interest rates just aren't going to come down that quickly. But I think if they're smart enough to support our customers and our dealerships and inevitably themselves with strong lease programs, again, payments may still be higher than people's tastes, but at least there's some end game in sight. Because you all agree it's really frightening when you've got a bad situation and there's no end game.
Well, think about it, and let's take two of the greatest cars that are running around the United States right now. And I'm going to say greatest cars, the Honda Civic and the Toyota Corolla. They're bulletproof cars. They last forever. They just keep going and they retain value. They just do. Well, at the height of the pandemic, entry level Corolla was $20,000. They were selling them for $35,000 in some areas of the United States. $35,000 for a Toyota Corolla base car. That is absolutely sacrilege. And you think that you put that person into an 8-year loan. When's that car coming out of negative equity? It probably will never, even when the car is paid off, be out of negative equity. It's going to be worth nothing by the time it's paid off. We did it to ourselves, and now, okay, how do we get out of it? How do we change the dynamics? How do we get people to think differently? Go ahead, Gary. You thinking differently?
I'm thinking differently.
Okay, fire away.
When do the pitchers and catchers get brought back to the baseball teams? Is it now? I'm not a big baseball. Are they getting called back up right now?
They get called first.
So they're getting called and they're training. So I live in the Northeast, and we really don't have a selling season until it thaws out. Sometimes we get fortunate through the winter and it's mild and we can sell cars. But traditionally, it's cold, and we don't do any business in January. We don't do any business in February until President's Week. And then we start hearing all of the tax returns, and then we hear all of the hoopla. Back to basics. Larry is going into showrooms, putting back that energy into those people, and they just want to sell a car. It's not the 20-year vet that's looking at this customer saying they're going to waste my time. We need to get back to the basics. By the way, my best deal and best recommendation to anybody on a car is you buy a pre-owned car and you buy an extended warranty. It depreciated and you buy a service contract. That's the best deal. I don't care what deal it is. But now we got to go back to selling used cars. We have tax season coming. You have to go back to qualifying, helping the customer. The 650 and below need help. They got to bring in the documents. The 650 and above don't want to go near the dealership. If the dealerships don't come up with a game plan that the owner or the general manager can agree on and teach everybody in it. We have wonderful dealers out there that are sharing how to run a successful dealership. And guess what? They're running a successful dealership because they're running it. The guy that pops up all the time and everybody knows him, J.R. Toothman. J.R.
Yep.
Toothman's inviting the experts into his store and he's teaching his people. And it's about what he's doing. He's got, I don't know the guy with the beard, but that guy with the beard has more leads than he, and he's funny. And I want to buy a car from him. And so what the dealers have forgotten is that the human beings that are on the showroom floor living their lives are where their money is. And they've forgotten. They've forgotten where these people that when you have a hometown dealer and they have their kids in the dealership and their buddies as a mechanic, those are the dealerships that I want to buy cars from because those are the people feeding the local community. Gary Rome Hyundai, that guy in Holyoke, Mass. 2 years ago, he was the dealer of the year for good reason. The guy reads at the public library or he goes to the school. He's got these wonderful Weimaraners, I don't know, beautiful dogs. That's a dealer. And he learned from his father because his father was in the business. I work amongst many families in Connecticut that have owned these dealerships for many, many years. We have dealers that have had 100-year legacy and their kids are in the business. Those are the dealers that are where they move up with their technology. Everybody's going to want to go there. So I've been trying, basics. We've been watching it. This is my 40th year selling cars during the tax season. You put a process in place and give them structure, you'll sell cars. It's right back to pitching and catching. So there's my quote or my statement. And in the leasing, absolutely, we don't have good inventory anymore. We used to have those 3-year-old off leases, the Nissan, the Rogue. That's the number one used car in the subprime world. And so we don't have inventory. We're going, I see cars going out 2016 out of new car dealerships. You want to talk about unheard of. So the new car dealerships are selling 150,000 mile cars. So they need to start doing more reconditioning if they want to compete. It's a used car year as far as I'm concerned, because while they let the government and the manufacturers figure out what the hell they're going to do and where they're going to build them, who cares? There's enough used cars out there that people need, and there's enough digital providers that can help them. And let the new cars fix it. They created it. We had to live in it, and it's a used car year. So let's sell some used cars.
No, I agree with that 100%. The trending information that I'm getting across the board is two things. One is fixed operations where Russell just sits there and goes, yeah,
Absolutely.
This
That's
pumping
mailbox money. That's fixed ops.
Fixed ops is where it's going to be at for the next 3 years, possibly 4. Because we put the people in the 8-year lease or 8-year finances, and we got to keep them running and whatever, and trying to keep them back in the dealership. So there's going to be massive marketing money attributed to fixed ops over the next 2 to 4 years.
Hey, Peter, one other thing too, so we don't get too grim with this. Let's look back on recent history. And by the way, I was in a dealer group, a 20 group with Gary Rome. You're right, he's a gentleman, and J.R. Toothman's just another terrific guy. But think of what nobody on this program is 100 years old, but think of what we've already lived through.
I'm getting close, Larry.
It's true, but I still love you, Gramps. Listen, we lived through Jimmy Carter, who had interest damn near 20%.
I was selling cars.
We lived through when they called up perfectly good dealers and said, by the way, we're eliminating you.
Yep.
How crazy is that? We've lived through 9/11 where people weren't sure if we were going to have a country anymore. We'll get past this. The only thing we have to strive is keeping our head straight and being patient, but not patient with training, not patient with getting the culture together, because that won't wait. But, listen, if you haven't sold a car in 5 days, usually you're a bad salesperson, not because you haven't sold, but because the next people you talk to are feeling your intensity. Well, will you take it today? We need to be patient in the sense that it's going to take a while to undo this mess, but we have to be impatient in the fact that we have to act like if we don't try to make our people and ourselves better right away, then we have a problem, right? It's the old thing. When people were making crazy money, wouldn't that have been a great time to retrench, right? It's the old, everybody knows the cliche, best time to fix the roof is when the sun's shining, not when it's raining.
That's right.
Past this, it's just not going to be tomorrow or in 6 months. We're just in too deep. We've got too many people buried, and it's going to take a while to adjust these interest rates. But if they come up again with a strong lease, if we're smart, even the used cars, Gary, a little bit of a challenge because the market has risen the value, and the interest rates are still ugly.
Everything's a challenge. However, lenders are lending, and it's teaching consumers new behavior. Those bi-weekly programs and the weekly programs will allow them to catch up and pay 13 months, through those by equity plus. There's a few of those guys. Diminished value products is the new buzzword. Diminished value is now in certain states are able to get your vehicle back to whole in an auto accident. So where the insurance companies are starting to really squeeze customers on body work, there's a lot of challenges going on there. So that's a new buzzword. And that one is a good tool to get the customers out of the $10,000 that they're upside down. Because there's now going to be F&I products that will give up to a $10,000 benefit that if that car gets into an auto accident and then the consumer purchased it, they're going to have 10 grand to offset the value of the depreciation to fix that car back to normal. So this is the next challenge. And as we're saying, right. And there's going to be challenges, but we used to have the 7-year cycle. We've had a nice run, and I just think it's a used car year with the transition.
Well, we're damn sure going to find out once those tariffs kick in.
And they're coming.
They are coming. Hopefully it doesn't hopefully it doesn't last long. And we're going to rebound, but it's coming, and prices are going to freaking soar.
But on that, one of the challenges that most people don't realize, we were in NAFTA before Trump got in power in 16 or 17, and he killed NAFTA and created the USMCA. And in doing that, he put tariffs in place then. It was never spoken about this time like it was last time. He put it in there. He put it in there to force Canada and Mexico to comply. Massive negotiations, and some of it got erased, some of it didn't. Anything that would hurt the U.S. got erased, like the auto industry, and it's going to happen again. The only difference this time around is the challenge with the Canadian government, because we're a headless horse right now, because Trudeau isn't prime minister anymore, but he still retains the title until they vote in a new person. So he can't do anything, and it's called prologued. So he's prologued the.
By the way, did everybody see the smile on Peter's face when he said he can't do anything anymore? I think every Canadian delights in that phrase.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Say,
Yeah.
you know that Peter, the thing you dropped in there on CDK.
Yeah.
I was going through it, and I just quickly browsed, and I came across this is fascinating read, and I'm gonna read it all. But this is 31% of customers prefer to book with an AI assistant today than talk to a human being at the dealership.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. But that's so true.
That's incredible.
Because it's the frustration level. It's you have to set yourself up to deal with calling into a dealership.
And by the way, so you don't think it's just the auto industry?
Oh, it's yeah.
I'm in a hotel in Florida and I have to book my boarding. You guys are going to love this. I have to book my boarding pass. So call downstairs and I say, do you have a business center? She says, we do not. I said, oh, well, I need to get my boarding pass printed. She said, we can do it here. Just send the information via email. Great. Russ, you're going to love this. I go downstairs and she prints. What does she print? The notice that it's time to check in. I was trying to get a boarding pass. Now, 5 years ago, I am not making this up. I was at the post office. I'll never forget it. And a young lady went up and she was trying to get $100 money order. And the guy said, I forget the number. It was like $9, whatever it was. And she gave it to him. And she was waiting. And he said, Miss, I also need the $100. We're not getting any smarter as a race. We're things that are so mind-bogglingly stupid that if you think about it, I love talking to people. I get frustrated when you try to call you try to reach a firm or the airlines and you can't talk to somebody. But unfortunately, when you do talk to somebody, you wish they were a little brighter. And maybe
Larry, my question is, why are you printing a boarding pass?
Because Larry still hasn't figured out how to use his wallet.
I did put it on my phone. I did put it on my phone, but don't laugh at me. Got a little old lady in me. What I usually do is send it to my text, but I also get a paper copy. I'm just nervous because I've seen such crazy things happen. I've seen the machines not work. I've seen everything that could possibly go wrong.
Good point.
So, yeah, that's all. I know this doesn't sound right because I'm out of my mind. I'm very cautious and careful.
Tony Thorstad's here.
Cool. Hey, Tony's here. Tony, how are you, my buddy? By the way, I saw the Zeppelin movie. How cool was it that they emphasized all their beginnings and talked about everything? And I know you loved it, except for the fact that they didn't indicate what thieves they were and how they Willie Dixon sued them because A Whole Lot of Love was really All My Love. Muddy Waters, the same damn song. But other than that, it was great. And obviously seeing Jimmy Page and a young Plant Bonham alive was great.
Oh my gosh. Larry. Hopefully you can hear me. Sorry I'm late. Yeah, they don't talk about the stolen music. We never talk about that, Larry. We don't want to talk about that.
I just did. I mean, at least listen, you say whatever you want about the Rolling Stones. Every shot they had, they put black artists in front of them. They insisted on a show where they wanted white teenagers that Howlin' Wolf was on. I'm talking 1964 in England. They toured with B.B. King and Ike and Tina Turner. They had Stevie Wonder in front of them before he broke to a national white audience. That's all, just to mention. But having said,
okay, I get it.
Fabulous.
I get it, but it's still amazing music. You got to give it that. And that was really great.
Those guys played so well. It was scary. And Zeppelin is a great group. You, of course, being younger and, of course, handsome, are mistakenly of the belief that they're the greatest band of all time, when obviously smart people know it's the Beatles, because without them, you would have never heard of Led Zeppelin or the Rolling Stones, because no British artist broke in our country till they did it. But it's all right. You can concede this all later. We're sticking with how expensive cars are.
No concession here. They are the greatest of all time. The GOATs. That's what they are, Larry. The GOATs.
No, they're not. I don't mean to piss you off, but sometimes I'd rather listen to The Who. That's all. I like.
You know what they say? Better to be pissed off Better to be
But look
pissed
how
off
quickly we
than
got off $50,000, and we got Tony, who's a God-fearing guy, ready to punch me in the nose
no.
while he hums the immigrant song.
Yeah. Hey, so you're talking about the price of cars, huh? Like the tea in China?
Yep.
We were lamenting the fact that because of the vagaries of the economy and short-sighted greed, that we've buried so many people that it's hard to unbury them. And we're now involved in this thing that makes every car salesperson's blood chill. When somebody comes in to trade their car and they're excited and they're so far upside down that it's physically impossible to put them in a car. Man, what
So
a frustrating thing for everybody.
could it be the cause of the next financial collapse?
I don't think we're going to collapse. I think over the next few years, we're going to work our way out of this situation. We'll hopefully get rid of a lot of government waste, and hopefully we'll spur small business, which is really the key to America. I mean, you can only have so many Amazons and giant companies. You need small business. You need people employed. You need the economy to circulate. And I got to tell you the truth, I feel pretty good about it. I'm a little worried about the next year or so with what we've done with customers, but I honestly think we're going to be okay. But I happen to be an eternal optimist, Tony.
Okay. I'll give you that. But the payments that people are signing up for, absolutely nuts. The $1,000 car payments plus at plus, that's a lot of money to the average consumer's budget.
It sure is.
Tony, I looked at a Jeep Wrangler to replace the one that I had. And my Jeep Wrangler from 2023 to 2025 went up $25,000. And the monthly payment on it went from $950 to $1,400.
That's kind of unbelievable, isn't it, folks?
For a Jeep Wrangler.
And then insurance. I mean, auto insurance is
crazy.
and
Yep.
you're adding that on top of it. That's crazy.
And it's going up, Gary. It's not just you're adding it on, but there's been dramatic rises in that too.
Well, that's what I said, the plus. You had all the insurance, the maintenance, the gas. I mean, are people penciling $1,500 a month just to get around town?
Hey, Wendy, do me a favor. Could you put in the chat the phone number for the suicide prevention hotline? We've taken a turn for the grim on this damn show.
Oh, no. I got the $90 a month payment going on the electric, so I'm not freaking out.
Yeah. Well, again, that whole thing, and we talked about that earlier, Tony, was because of the situation, I would say geoclimatically with electric vehicles, the manufacturers dumped all their incentives into those to get them out of the inventories of the dealers. And that is long since gone because the government rebates are going to dissipate. And what's going to happen next? Well, the car that you're driving for under $200 a month is now going to be back up to $600-700 a month. So it's going to be a real challenge.
Peter, you know what the
residual? I remember, and you will all remember this, when for a while you had a lot of banks that were interested in used car leases. And I remember the residuals on Porsches were so strong that you could lease these cars, which retailed for crazy money for nothing. I mean, for $200 or $300 a month. Unfortunately, all these cars, these banks went out of business because the residuals came back and they got killed and blah, blah, blah. But I honestly think, Peter, we're just in a really ugly cycle. But I think, again, I think we'll work our way through it. It's not the end of the world. It's just a situation where, we're just going to have to work smarter and harder. I'm sorry, Tony. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
what's the residual, Tony?
Yeah, Tony, I want to hear about that. Tell me that car that you can sell for $90. What model is it?
So, sorry, in the hotel bathroom. My buddy needs a little privacy in there. Anyways, so that was a BZ4X. I leased it a year ago and tried to throw a bunch of money at that car. And I ended up actually leasing it for $190 a month. Nothing. 15,000 miles a year, no money down, blah, blah, blah. And after the gas savings, that car cost me $90 a month because I don't even pay for electricity to charge that car. Now, the residual on that car on my 2-year residual on that car is 19 grand. So that was a $48,000 car. In 2 years, I'm going to be able to buy that car for 19 grand, all the while only paying $90 a month for 24 months. It's the deal of the century, and I didn't let my politics get in the way of me making that decision.
No, neither would I. A car is just a tool. It's to get you from point A to point B safely and securely, and it's there to be reliable. And you should look at it as a total expenditure, not as in anything else. Because sure, you can lease a car or buy a car and have a great monthly payment, but your maintenance and your insurance are through the roof.
Yeah, there's no way Dave Ramsey could argue me out of that one.
Yeah,
because it's just the cost of transportation, right?
Yeah, I'll give you an example. I bought a Ferrari a number of years ago, and because I just fell in love with this car, had to have it, wanted it, knew that I could buy it for the price I was buying it for. I could buy it, and could sell it a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the road, and not lose a single dime. In fact, probably make money. So I thought it was a good investment. The thing that I didn't take into effect was the maintenance. And the maintenance on that car cost me $2,000 a month. And I got buried in that car because of it.
Oh man.
So
Hey, Peter, we're sneaking up on 7:42, and we haven't heard from my girl Wendy. We haven't heard from Jimmy Emanuel. We haven't heard from Mike Larkin, and others some very smart points. We haven't heard from our friend Mr. Scherer. So, whatever order you guys like to speak up, we love to hear your input. You know how much we appreciate you. Wendy, do you want to go first?
Sure. So, all the data that you guys shared, the percentages are alarming. The people that don't want to work with humans and everything else, there's so much going on that just in so many different directions, it's hard to even identify like what it is that we need to attack first to be able to make things better. All I know is that from a BDC perspective, being in the trenches on the phone with dealer customers all the time, all day, every day, that my heart breaks for the people with their negative equity.
Yeah.
Running promotions to double your down payment or what, so that I have an extra couple of nickels to go toward my $27,000 of equity in an 11-year-old vehicle. Seriously. So, and then I'm looking into things that I'm thinking from a BDC mindset. Well, our job is to drive the traffic, right? The dealers have better lenders. They have better closing percentages once we get them to the store. But the things that concern me are there's some really cool tools out there, like you can get a pre-qual, right? Or get a pre-approval, right? Like the things they do for Cap One and for other lending institutions that will entice the buyer with their pre-approval or their pre-qualification or because we're not supposed to say pre-approval, but now we're more moving toward that as well. And it's designed as a tool to get people into the store. But then the problem is still there. So what I'm concerned about is that, I get it. A lot of our dealers have really great lenders. And in my opinion, the face of the independent has changed as well, in that many of them get at least one franchise so that they can have access to more lenders, I think, right, for their used car customers.
Yep.
But the problem still exists that there's going to be a lot of dealers that don't have that availability for financing options for their customers. And we're going to be driving traffic, and people are going to get a sour taste in their mouth all over again because of all these tools driving them to the dealerships to absorb their negative equity. And many of the dealers won't have adequate lenders lined up. So that's what I'm concerned, is that the dealers are going to get another smack in the face by those who are less than full of integrity and honest and everything else. And they're trying to push traffic just to do a bait and switch. Or they're going to do a pre-qualification on an ad leader, you're pre-approved for the car that was sold 3 days ago. And the salespeople are going to broom them off the lot anyway. Again, the result is a negative customer impression of the entire experience in the dealership. So we need to get our shit together, and we
Yeah.
need to have a plan, and we need to figure it, as Katie would say it, figure it the F out.
Yeah.
Plug for Katie at 8:30 p.m. tonight on her show in Clubhouse. But the point is we need to get our stuff together, because it's like we're doing this 2 steps forward, 1 step back, cha thing going on right now, where we've got AI to help engagement and everything else. But what happens once we engage them with them and we convert them to a showroom visit? Then what? Then the pandemonium ensues. That's what I got.
Michael Larkin, what do you think, my buddy? Great comments, Win.
Yeah, it was, Wendy. Very well said.
You guys are brilliant, every one of you. Here's what I see as you know, a guy learning every day about this industry. There's so many factors, but going back to what Gary said, there's no new car dealers anymore. I go onto lots, and I go onto the Mercedes lot, and they're selling Volkswagens. It's a used car market, and you know, with these crazy numbers coming out, with the tariffs going out this month.
2 days. Yeah.
Yeah, I see everything going up, 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 up. And is it a good thing or a bad thing? You know, to level the playing field in the next 3 months instead of the next 3 years, I think it's a good thing, and I'm positively looking at, you know, the markets will adjust, but it's the leaders that are at the top who are going to train the people below them or not. You make the decision as a leader, you know, and you got to have the right culture, the right process, going back to basics, or not, you know, and those people will be swept away, as they have been in the past, and as they will be in the future. As again Gary said, those families that have that process, have that culture down, will continue to go on and grow in the future. Those that aren't and are ignoring it, good luck to you.
The great Jerry Butler passed away. I always quote his song, "Only the strong survive."
Amen. Yeah.
By the way, Peter, with the 31% of people would rather deal with AI, just so you guys can all rest easy. My wife did try to replace me with AI, but she couldn't find a program as annoying as me. So I'm still safe.
It's okay. There's one coming.
Probably. Jimmy Emanuel or Jeff, we welcome your input, and we haven't heard from you.
Yeah.
It looks like Jeff Scherer spontaneously combusted. He was there and now he's gone.
Man, his AI is off the charts, man.
No kidding. No kidding. As well as himself. Jimmy, while we're waiting for Jeff to magically reappear, what are your thoughts, Mike?
What's up, Jimmy?
Good evening, everybody. I'm kind of with Wendy a little bit. You know, I think there's a dangerous combination between high interest rates and negative equity, and you know that's really going to squeeze dealers for a long time in regards to how many trades that they can take in and where they source some cars. It's a dangerous combination to see. But yeah, I too also believe in focusing on the consumer experience. That's what separates one dealer over another. You know, I've learned that consumers submits multiple leads to multiple dealers. And if you're just slamming them with email templates and when can you come in, this car is available, you're not going to get that customer in. Somebody else is. So that's just a couple of random thoughts that I'm sharing with the room.
Hey, Jimmy, also, if everybody's slammed to death and beaten to death, wouldn't it more now than ever be important to build rapport and actually listen to them and show a little bit of kindness?
Yeah.
100%. I'm in dealers all day, every day, you know, talking about you want to sell more cars, you got to focus on the consumer experience. start there, all the way into, what does the receptionist greet? What is your first response? All of that stuff comes into play. And I encourage dealers to mystery shop one another to see, maybe your competitor is doing something that you're not, that you can learn from. Or maybe you can see, wow, that guy over there, he really sucks. Maybe I can start to conquest and grab out from him if I focus on, the customer experience. So, but we're in a really weird time, and the tariffs is going to kind of come in and have an effect on this whole thing as well. So it's going to be an interesting year.
I agree with that. Mr. Scherer, what are your thoughts?
He's talking to his son.
So
Tell your son
it's really it's a perfect storm, because not only are the interest rates, when people are buried, but what's going to happen to the trade-ins now? You're not going to have them. People aren't going to sell their cars because they can't afford to.
Service contract sales. Wait till my website pops up.
Baby.
That's the saving grace right there. But
hey, thank God we can write them out to 250,000 miles. Come on, baby.
Why do I have the feeling that if Russell was involved with body shops instead of fixed ops with service, that when it was wet on the highway and it got below 32, he'd be out there spraying the highway for ice? Boy, do I love a capitalist that understands nature and bores a vacuum.
Hey, Larry, I've heard a couple people talk about interest rates being high. Well, historically, they're not.
No.
Historically, interest rates are not high. We keep telling ourselves that. But in 2004, interest rates were 6%. But when I started in the business 30 years ago, I can get 14.9 at my credit union. Those were high rates.
But Tony,
we just keep telling ourselves they're high.
But we're human, and we're always a slave to our conditions. If you move to Florida rather than the cold place you live, and you stayed down there for 2 or 3 years, and we brought you back up to where you are now, you'd freeze your butt off, because we adjust, we get used to what's in front of us, and we adapt to that, and then it seems odd, right? Listen, I'm not 100 years old. I feel like it some days. I remember when you went to the airport, you got on a plane. You didn't have to go through 97 things, and I'm TSA, and it's still a pain in the ass with what you have to do. We get used to things, we adapt to things, and we put up with things. So you're 100% right. But the problem is, with all the context, as wonderful as it is and as illuminating as it is, it doesn't change the fact that they used to come in and say, I want to pay $300 a month or $200 a month, and we bumped them up to $500, and it was a pain in the neck. But in this case, it's really undoable for some people. It just blows their budget so far out of reality, they can't. It looks like Russell has his hand up.
Well, before I say anything, I want to allow, I don't know if Jeff finished what his thoughts were.
I was. Go ahead.
So I want to share a story. This is along the lines of what all of you have alluded to. So in 1994, when I got clean and sober, I was still in the sober treatment facility. And at 60 days, I was able to look for a job again. It was time to start, so I'm naturally going to get back in the car business. But I didn't want responsibility of being a manager. I just wanted to sell cars and focus on my sobriety. That's all I wanted to do. So the director of the program and my counselor said, hey, you probably better not a conducive environment to go back into if you think about your past. And obviously there was a lot of truth to that, but I had a new mindset. So shortly, I got a job. Long story to that. The short story is I got a job selling cars. That's all I wanted to do. I went to my meetings and I focused on rebuilding Russell. But then I started to learn about setting goals. And so what was different this time in selling cars versus any other time in my life in automotive was I didn't work the customer anymore. I didn't work the desk anymore. I was always manipulating and working the customer desk to maximize every possible way I could. Selfish, self-seeking, self-centered. All I cared about was building a relationship and focusing on the customer's needs, wants, and desires. And I can't tell you the stress level how reduced it was because I wasn't working anybody anymore. I was building the relationship, and because of that, I made more money than I ever made selling cars, focusing on the customer.
Here. That was a thank you.
It works.
Yeah.
No question about it. And that's where you see the dealers that make their dealerships warm and inviting are going to win. And
Absolutely.
the dealers that continue to let the chaos run rampant are going to get shut down for fraud.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
And so that's the difference. And it's that it's the 60s, the 70s. You just put it perfectly. Is that one person focusing, not hustling.
That's right.
And that's what our dealerships create. The F&I manager gets ahead of himself. The sales manager, everybody's running around.
Yeah.
And who's losing? The customer's losing
That's
because
right.
everybody's focused on their tasks.
No, absolutely. That one last thing, I really need to make this file. I made a little bit today, but Jeff Scheer's AI, I got to tell you, there may be other AIs out there. Jeff, if you land the damn deal where it can schedule right into the DMS, it's over. I'm just it is freaking over.
Well, I wouldn't bet against Jeff Scherer because
I'm not betting against him. I know it's coming.
Yeah, besides being one of the nicest guys I've ever met, man, is he smart. That's why I stand next to you, Jeff. It's like my IQ goes up just because of the medium when we're together.
I mean, I interacted with that thing. It was incredible. I mean, it's just
Russell,
incredible.
just make sure when it does it, it puts your coupon on the RO too.
I'll tell you what.
Jeff, make a note of that.
Let's get Jeff to tell you who his coach and mentor is.
Who is it, Jeff?
It's not Tom Landry.
Tom Landry was a great coach.
Yes, he was.
By the way, if you want some football trivia, Peter, I know you're more hockey than football. The New York Giants in the early 60s, they had two decent assistant coaches, Vince Lombardi and Tom Landry.
Well, I'll tell you what, where was football invented?
Here we go. Everything was invented in Canada.
Wasn't it?
I don't understand it because you're going to be the 51st state.
Right.
Canada.
They got cheaper eggs up there, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, eggs are only $3 a dozen, Canadian.
Yeah.
Well,
you guys are amazing.
That's why you're going to
man.
be the 51st state.
We'll give you basketball with James Naismith, okay? Don't get greedy.
How about hockey?
Just stay away from the bacon. That's ham.
Lacrosse. Lacrosse is actually Canada's national game. But football was invented in Canada.
And who's the greatest?
Because they got nothing else to do.
And who is the great? Wait a minute. Let's see if he knows.
Yeah, but America capitalized on it, Peter.
Okay,
let's see if he knows his trivia. Peter, who was the greatest college lacrosse player probably of all time? Any idea?
Jesse Owens.
Yeah.
Who?
Jesse Owens.
Nope. Jim Brown. Jim Brown not only lettered in football at Syracuse, but he was a scary good lacrosse player.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't lie. I'm in the car.
Owens was an amazing lacrosse player as well.
What's that?
Jesse Owens was an amazing lacrosse player as well.
Yeah, he was pretty amazing at everything, and he put a good torture scare on Hitler which blew up the whole Aryan race thing.
When he showed up.
Yep, 1936 when he won those medals.
Yeah, I'll give you two last pieces of advice. I've said it many times before. Babe Ruth, his first home run in Toronto, and Richard Petty raced his very first NASCAR race in Toronto.
Does everybody get the same feeling about Peter that I do?
Yeah.
He would start talking about how mugging was invented in Ontario and that gun was. Yeah, I'm just saying, Peter. I think you're kind of Canadian centric. That's just my feeling.
I think the very first NBA trophy or championship was won by Toronto as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't be bragging about that shit because at this point, I grew up loving the NBA and playing basketball, and I'm so tired of watching people shoot 97 3-pointers and missing. This is the nonsense that Steph Curry has brought.
I have to go to bed. All
right, Russell.
All right, then we're going to.
Do you know a Canadian invented the first mattress? I'm just playing along with Peter.
Okay,
Don't
last
be
words.
jealous, Larry.
Last words. Anybody? Last
Yes,
words.
last words. Jeff, stay and let me know how that progresses, seriously, or if I can do anything to help, okay?
And
Yes,
real quick, thank every one of you for being on the show. You have no idea how much Peter and I and Rhonda,
And Rhonda.
appreciate
Remember
you.
Rhonda?
Yeah, I remember Rhonda. Listen, it's the Canadian thing floating through
Yeah,
my head. Everybody stay
And
healthy. Everybody hang
just
in.
one last thing,
We're going to
Larry.
complete this damn
Oh.
thing. And we're going to be fine.
All right, Peter,
Just
go ahead.
couple things. Tomorrow night is going to be service retention, keeping customers beyond the sale, in Automotive Innovators and Disruptors. Tony, do we have any guests on Friday morning?
I do not have a guest on Friday morning, but don't let that stop you from joining us.
Okay.
Hey, if you want, Tony, I'm a little shy, but you can probably coax me into talking about career changers.
Have you given your pitch, Larry?
I don't think I have.
You need to
All
be
right.
in there, Larry.
He's got to
We're
work
on.
on it.
We're on, Larry.
Okay,
That's it.
The good, the bad, the ugly.
I will be there Friday morning,
Here,
and I will try to
bump
get
it
out
up,
of my
buddy.
shell a little bit, folks.
APA,
All right.
baby.
You got it,
Can
Peter?
Hey,
we plug
everybody.
our
Peace
Yeah,
out.
plug our
Stay
friend
healthy,
Katie?
everybody.
Hold on, guys. 30
What?
minutes from now, Katie Lampier, her room in Clubhouse, talking about getting dealerships to the next level. Jerry Cousins and Damian Boudreau in
What's
30
the
minutes
room?
in Clubhouse.
Is it what room?
It's winding down, car people winding down and something or other. It's Katie.
All right. Gotcha.
Katie
30
Lampier.
minutes, your
Kelly.
time, my time, or Tony's time? Whose time?
30
He's
minutes
talking
from
about
now.
From now, you'll be in
Normally, I'm
bed.
on
So
your
it would
time.
be, in your case, Tony, would be 7:30 Central Standard.
Oh, no.
No,
I'm
Tony's on the East Coast now.
tonight. I'm on the East Coast tonight.
And you're
He's
looking
in,
much
he's
more
in New
Hampton
Jersey.
and
Yeah.
much more beach-centric. We'll talk later, Tony.
Tony, did they put you in a container?
Yeah, no, I just didn't think you wanted to see the shower curtain. See you
All
guys.
right.
Stay
We
healthy,
already saw
everybody.
the shower curtain. Good
Good
night,
night,
everybody.
everyone.
Thank you all for
Good night,
coming.
everybody.